Hey, what's up? It's the Critical Plug, and I got for you an album review of the new Olivia Rodrigo album, You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love. This is the third studio album from singer-songwriter pop princess, yep, I said it, Olivia Rodrigo, who made a huge splash in the industry with her debut album, Sour, where she was adding pop punk, singer-songwriter music, but with that also providing concept, a story of heartbreak, a story of betrayal. And while it wasn't one of my favorites of that year, I did think it was a very solid debut. But then she followed that up with her excellent sophomore album, Guts, which if you follow me on Threads, you know I love that album, which had a lot of bangers, a lot of ballads, and a lot of ambition, which showed Olivia was way more than just a pop punk girly. Going against the grain with versatility, dope writing, a little edgy this time around. Actually, who am I kidding? Way more edgy that time around. With great production from producer Dan Nigro, and she's teamed up with him to make magic once again on this LP. And I had a feeling lightning would strike twice when I heard the leading single to this LP, Drop Dead. And given the title alone, I was like, okay, is this gonna be another diss track? Is this gonna be another heartbreak track? What is this gonna be? But when I listened to it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is a love song, or I would say a song of endearment, a song of infatuation, where she is absolutely gushing over this new love interest. Also having admiration and optimism for this new romance. And once I got the second taste of the LP with the absolutely heart-wrenching The Cure, that has intense guitar strumming at the beginning that reminds me that of like an Elliott Smith, the Microphones, or maybe Sunset Tree era, the Mountain Goats, with Olivia's hushed vocals that syncopate well with the passion and the epic transitions within the instrumentation, with ascending synths and string crescendos, as they explode with these punchy kick drums and Olivia's soaring vocals. And with The Cure not only being a title of a track, but also plays a huge role in this LP, as I am referring to the goth band, yes, the legendary goth band, The Cure, which would Easter egg to the third installment of the singles to this LP, What's Wrong With Me, featuring Robert Smith of The Cure. But this is way more than a banger and a ballad LP, way more than just versatile genre elements. It's actually a love story. And I was kind of torn on how I would approach this because given how this is a concept album, given how this is a story, and given how my purpose of like doing this is putting you onto a LP that you probably haven't heard. However, due to this being a popular release, I think the only thing to do here is to create discourse, because I'm pretty sure if you heard this LP, you probably know how it ends, you know how the story goes, but I feel what I should do is touch on the significance of each track. While we do know how the story ends since you've already heard it, I think it's important for me to touch on the detail that's put into here, the symbolism that's put in here, the irony that's put in here, the fact that even though it's a love story, it doesn't exactly mean it's a happy story, as this shows a story of being in love, in the relationship, out of the relationship, and even when the relationship is over and done. And also what brings the significance to me is just how sequenced and well crafted a lot of these tracks are. And I would say she takes risks and is way more adventurous on this one, as she explores her influences. And yes, Olivia is a huge music fan, as we all are, as she's taking her influences and combining them and making amalgamations of them and putting them in tracks and putting them together to tell a story. And I don't think that should go unnoticed, as she's deviating away from pop punk and going more into other elements like synth pop, new wave, jangle pop, post-punk revival, like on the track Me Plus You Equals Love. And I love how she uses these genres to reflect or delineate a story. All these situations of emotion transpiring of her being in love. as the album contains a variety of guitar-backed evolving bangers that deliver a vast amount of hope and optimism. We also get a mix of grieving and healing, but it doesn't do it in a continuously forlorn and heartbreaking way, as this album is a journey of emotional transitions. And in the beginning, there is adventurous and more mature versions of what we got on Sour with the song Stupid Song, as she delineates the strong feeling of love and devotion and admiration for this current love interest, saying that her love for this person is way beyond description, way beyond describing, just way beyond any lyric or harmony or melody could put together or express. And her emotions and her vocals just sync up perfectly with the production, as the crescendo breaks into this vast display of strum tremolos, skittering and punchy drums. There's almost a galloping flow here to her vocals. And we also do get these shouted vocals that are, yes, kind of Taylor-coded. But in my opinion, Taylor has never sounded ambitious or versatile or really up in the ante like Olivia on this record artistically, especially with a burst of stadium guitars that goes into the sunburnt electric guitar passage. Following this, we get a more dreamier track, Honeybee, and shares a similar melodic refrain to that of Coldplay's Viva La Vida. And while I don't think the string section is the strongest at the end of the track, I think it'll grow on me through time, as she's continuation the narrative of love blossoming, and just being optimistic for a long loving future. And then we get Maggots for Brains, where we get this new order-coded bass, hushed vocals, also with layered vocals, but to a beautifully layered shouted outro, along with a sick electric guitar solo, which is a lovesick banger of feeling isolated when your partner isn't there with you, feeling like she is absolutely perishing without them. And with how bright and exciting the instrumentation is, this is actually a pretty dark track topically, as the lyrics are vastly dark in a way, and obsessive. And with noted Olivia being a fan of the movie Obsession, this kind of does make sense, as this track is upbeat but at the same time concerning. And at the same time, the hook is super infectious. I'm a zombie in my body, with absolutely a Aha style melody on the outro. But of course, everything else is vastly different and enchanting. It's awe-inspiring, cinematic, and also blissful. And You Plus Me Equals Heart, which is probably my favorite track on the whole record, which has an excellent blend of guitar and synth embellishments. And with the line of her trying to win over her big sister with her cynical humor and love for yacht rock, as there is a lot of power in the sequencing, beautifully layered with the vocals and instrumentation. Meanwhile, the song My Way, which is probably the most aggressive confrontational song on the whole entire record. It's very dancey, it's very punchy. The track definitely does lyrically break the third wall, as she's referred to herself as the girl who is fed the fuck up, and kind of reads as Dance Punk Revival's version of Loretta Lynn's You Ain't Woman Enough, as she's addressing this homewrecker, and her energy and sarcasm really does play well into this track, and does a great job of narration, describing a story, and does narratively share a comparison to Panic at the Disco's A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, but this one beats the shit out of every track on that LP, as Olivia's taunting this person, just breaking this person down to size, also humbling them, and I do admire Olivia's passion on this. And it's insanely catchy, and it should have been a single for this record. But following this, we have probably the most underwhelming track on the whole record, Purple, that I feel is a bit too Lana-coded, not really well mixed. It does have the unflattering elements of Coldplay at their worst. But lyrically though, this is a very important part of the story, as it shows the deterioration of the relationship. It's a shame too, because this exact flaw also lands on the track What's Wrong With Me with Robert Smith, realizing the person that you're madly in love with is also the detriment to your health and your well-being, as it's just vastly difficult to come to terms with that. But the previous track, The Cure, as I mentioned before. Neil has an amazing build, pulls from great places, and I should have touched on earlier how the instrumentation does really touch on and complement and reflect Olivia's emotions in this track, syncopating very well with this track as the strums in the beginning are very isolated, but then takes on a brief warm passage, but then the string gets larger and the beat starts pumping as this symbolizes Olivia's feelings and coming to terms, it's time to let go, but realizing it's futile to stay with and be healed from the person avidly causing you the sickness. Feeling that the recreation and building and the thought of that is just fading away as the damage has already been done. There's nothing that could rebuild what they once had. And the somber string section at the end is just absolutely gorgeous. And then we have the immensely heart-wrenching song Beg, reflecting on the feelings of isolation once again. But with this track, she is realizing that the yearning, the admiration, the adoration, as there is a painful juxtaposition here as she is the one doing the yearning, but the person she's yearning for does not share that same similarity in feeling. And while the instrumentation is bare, once again, I feel that does play into the narrative. Because here we're just getting guitar strums, walls of huge backing vocals and melody, as the cracking of her voice, the melody of choice, kind of reminds me of a mix of Adrian Lanker from Big Thief, but also with the refrain or like some melodies here, it does also remind me of Fleetwood Mac's Landslide. And then we have the smoky piano ballad, Less, where she continuously battles with the grieving stages of the breakup. And for anyone who's been in love, like, you should know that there is more than a grieving process. It's more than falling out of love, which we learn in the end she doesn't. But when you're going through this, you go through so many stages. And also coming to the painful realization that letting go, letting this person be liberated, letting this person be free, meaning that they love you a lot, she'd rather have the reciprocation be less, be minimal. But then we break into a synth pop banger, which is Expectations, that has these dancey twinkling keys, squishy and wiggly synth bass, showing shades of Gary Newman mixed with some magnetic fields. As this is Olivia months later, she is now on the dating scene, she is now keeping her options open, and she is not settling for anything less than great and what she deserves, knowing her worth. Making sure this person is worth her time, making sure this person is worth committing to. I also love the big shouty vocals that remind me to that of like 80s Madonna, Cyndi Lauper. I also love the dudes coming in saying, she's got big expectations, she's got big expectations, really bolstering her claim. We do, however, end on a very sad and somber note with cigarette smoke, as she's reflecting on the relationship, ingeniously referencing other parts of the album with the mention of Honeybee, begging, and realizing how trash that dude was, but simultaneously, by that same token, realizing loneliness sucks. And also realizing how this person was playing with her emotions, playing with her, just wanting to rid herself of the memories, the experiences together. And I love the lines here, you made loving look easy, but you made it hard. Give me back my time, I'll give you back your heart. I thought we played a perfect couple until you didn't want to play the part? Bars! More so proving that he loved the idea of being with her, but not her as a partner. And I feel with all this, after taking all this in, it does explain the title very well, as it leaves on a very tragic, heartbreaking cliffhanger. So yeah, overall, I love this record. Not only is this album ambitious and well put together, but also speaks to me as someone who has had this experience. And if this is Olivia's experience, I truly hope she's over this douchebag. I truly hope that she is just past this, hopefully, but I don't know, maybe we'll see on the next album. This is definitely a metamorphosis here, as Olivia has gone from being the underdog to now one of the biggest names in pop, who, mind you, was once accused of being an industry plant, now absolutely killing it, and proving to be one of the modern GOATs in pop today. Proving it with creativity, emotional depth, really capturing each moment, feeling it engaging and also relatable, and just telling a story, but doing it so creatively and with so much innovation, and essentially showing how, with this being a love story and the topic being a positive emotion, doesn't mean it's going to lead to a happy story, but essentially, ultimately, creating a fantastic LP. I'm feeling a 4.5 out of 5 on this LP. If you've given this a listen, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Wow. And that's it. I am your plug. Show me love. Hit me with a sub. This is my opinion. Hate it. Your view's still a dub. Caspa, critical plug. Olivia Rodrigo, you seem pretty sad for a girl so in love.